You almost gave up. But you were seen. Do not turn away now. My child. I know how close you came to giving up. I saw the moment your strength wavered. I felt the heaviness in your chest when hope felt too expensive to carry. I noticed the silence where your prayers used to be. Do not look away from this moment. Do not tell yourself this message is not for you. I am speaking to you because this moment matters. Pause. Breathe slowly. Let your shoulders soften just a little. You have been holding on by threads you did not think would last. You smiled when you had no energy. You showed up when your heart wanted to disappear. You kept going when stopping felt easier. You almost gave up. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. In the privacy of your thoughts. In the long nights when no one was watching. In the mornings when getting out of bed felt like a negotiation. I know. And I want you to hear this clearly. You were seen. Not overlooked. Not forgotten. Not dismissed. Seen in the moment you whispered. I can't do this anymore. Seen when you questioned your worth. Seen when you wondered if your life even mattered. Seen when you felt like nothing was changing no matter how hard you tried. You almost gave up. But you stayed. Even when staying hurt. Even when staying felt pointless. Even when staying required more courage than you had. That staying mattered. My child. I know you feel exhausted in a way rest does not fix. This is not the tiredness of the body alone. This is the tiredness of the heart. The tiredness of someone who has been hoping for too long without relief. You told yourself to be patient. To be strong. To keep believing. But patience started to feel like punishment. Strength started to feel like isolation. Belief started to feel like self-deception. I know. I saw the cracks forming beneath your composure. I saw how close you were to saying, "What's the point?" You wondered if anyone would even notice if you stopped trying. If your absence would be quieter than your presence. If your life truly made a difference. My child. You matter more than you realize. Your existence is not measured by how productive you are. Your worth is not determined by how well you endure pain. Your value is not dependent on how much you can tolerate before breaking. You are not loved because you are strong. You are loved because you are you. And even when you almost gave up, you did not disappear from my sight. You were seen. Let that settle in your body. You were seen when you cried without tears. When your chest felt heavy for no clear reason. When you scrolled through distractions just to escape your own thoughts. You were seen when you lost motivation. When you questioned your direction. When you felt like you were living on autopilot. You were seen when you felt ashamed for struggling. When you told yourself others had it worse. When you minimized your pain to survive another day. My child. I do not measure your life the way you do. I do not see failure where you see delay. I do not see weakness where you see exhaustion. I do not see abandonment where you see silence. I see endurance that cost you something. I see compassion that stayed soft despite disappointment. I see a heart that kept beating even when it felt broken. You almost gave up. But something held you back. Not guilt. Not fear. Something quieter. A small voice that said, "Just stay one more day." That voice was not an accident. You may not recognize it yet. But that moment mattered more than you know. My child. I know you are afraid to hope again. Because hope hurt you before. Because expectation led to disappointment. Because believing did not bring immediate relief. So you learned how to lower your expectations. How to survive without dreaming. How to keep your heart guarded. That was understandable. But hear me now. Guarding your heart kept you alive. It was not meant to keep you closed forever. You were never meant to endure endlessly without comfort. You were never meant to be strong alone. You were never meant to feel unseen in your quiet suffering. Even when you almost gave up. You were not ignored. I was there in the pauses between your thoughts. In the stillness after your sighs. In the breath you took when you didn't know how to keep going. You may not have felt me. Pain can numb awareness. Exhaustion can dull connection. But my presence does not depend on your perception. I stay even when you doubt. I stay even when you are angry. I stay even when you feel nothing at all. My child. You are not weak for almost giving up. You are human. You carried more than anyone realized. You faced battles no one applauded. You endured seasons that did not make sense. And still, you stayed. That staying was noticed. Not because you did it perfectly. Not because you never faltered. But because you did not disappear. You are still here. Listening. Breathing. Reaching. That tells me something important about you. There is life in you that cannot be extinguished by disappointment. There is depth in you that cannot be erased by silence. There is resilience in you that does not announce itself loudly. My child. I know you feel like nothing has changed. That despite everything you endured. Your life still feels uncertain. Your questions still feel unanswered. Your future still feels unclear. I know that hurts. It makes you wonder if your perseverance mattered. If your pain was wasted. If staying was worth it. But staying did not keep you stuck. Staying kept you alive long enough for something to shift. And something is shifting. Not all at once. Not in ways you can measure yet. But inside you. You are not the same person who almost gave up. You are more aware now. More discerning. More honest about what you need. Those changes are not loud. But they are foundational. My child. When heaven notices, it does not always respond with fireworks. Sometimes it responds with steadiness. With quiet protection. With unseen support that keeps you from collapsing. You were supported through moments you thought you faced alone. You were steadied when you felt like you were slipping. You were held when you did not have the strength to hold yourself. Even now. Let yourself feel that truth. You are not here by accident. You are not still breathing by chance. You are not listening to this message randomly. This moment is intentional. Not because everything is about to be fixed. Not because your pain is about to disappear. But because you are about to understand something important. You almost gave up. But you were never meant to end there. Your story does not stop at exhaustion. Your life does not conclude with disappointment. Your heart does not end with silence. This moment is not the reward for your endurance. It is the reassurance that your endurance was seen. My child. You do not need to be strong right now. You do not need to promise anything. You do not need to recommit to hope or faith or belief. Just stay. Stay with this breath. Stay with this moment. Stay with me. Let your nervous system rest for a moment. Let your thoughts slow. Let your body feel supported. Nothing is being demanded of you here. You do not have to explain your pain. You do not have to justify your exhaustion. You do not have to pretend you are okay. I understand the weight you carry. And I want you to know this before we go any further. You were not overlooked in your weakest moment. You were not forgotten when you almost gave up. You were not dismissed when you felt like quitting quietly. You were seen. That seeing changes things. Even if you cannot feel it yet. In the next part, I will speak to the moment you almost let go. The fear behind it. And why that fear does not get to decide the rest of your life. Stay here. Do not turn away now. My child. I want to take you back to that moment. Not to hurt you. Not to reopen wounds. But to gently hold what you almost released. There was a moment when you felt your grip loosen. When the effort felt pointless. When continuing felt heavier than stopping. Pause with me here. Breathe slowly. You are safe to remember. You almost let go because you were tired of fighting battles that never seemed to end. Tired of believing things would change when they didn't. Tired of being the one who always held on. You told yourself you were fine. You told others you were managing. But inside, you were running out of strength. The fear was not dramatic. It was quiet. It sounded like resignation. What if this is just how life is? What if nothing gets better? What if I am wasting my energy hoping? That fear did not come from weakness. It came from prolonged disappointment. Anyone would feel it after carrying so much for so long. My child. You almost gave up because you felt unseen. Not just by people. But by life itself. You felt like your effort disappeared into silence. Like your tears fell without response. Like your endurance went unnoticed. That kind of silence is heavy. It makes you question whether continuing has meaning. It makes you wonder if your presence even matters. It makes you doubt whether staying is worth the pain. I know. And I want you to hear this clearly now. Your fear does not define you. Your exhaustion does not disqualify you. Your doubt does not erase your worth. That moment when you almost let go was not failure. It was a signal. A signal that you had reached your limit doing things alone. A signal that your heart needed reassurance, not more pressure. A signal that something had to change. My child. You did not almost give up because you lacked strength. You almost gave up because you had been strong for too long without relief. That matters. You were not asking for luxury. You were asking for rest. You were not asking for perfection. You were asking for hope that did not hurt. And in that moment of fear, something happened. You stayed. Not because everything suddenly made sense. Not because pain disappeared. You stayed because somewhere deep inside. You knew your story was not meant to end in silence. That knowing was quiet. Fragile. Almost extinguished. But it was enough. My child. Fear told you that letting go would finally bring peace. But peace does not come from disappearing. Peace comes from being held. And even when you almost let go, you were being held. You may not have felt arms around you. You may not have heard words of comfort. But you were steadied. There were moments you should have collapsed. And you didn't. Moments you should have broken. And you held together just enough. That was not coincidence. You were not abandoned to your fear. I know fear still whispers sometimes. It tells you that you are fragile now. That you are close to the edge. That one more disappointment will undo you. But hear me now. You are not as close to the edge as you think. You are closer to relief than you realize. Not because everything will change overnight. But because you are no longer carrying this alone. My child. Fear thrives in isolation. And isolation is what you felt in that moment you almost gave up. But you are not isolated now. You are heard. You are acknowledged. You are seen. Fear loses power when it is named and held. So let me hold it with you. The fear of staying stuck. The fear of wasting your life. The fear of hoping again. Bring it here. I am not overwhelmed by it. I am not disappointed by it. I am not turning away because of it. I am staying. You do not need to decide anything right now. You do not need to promise perseverance. You do not need to be brave. You only need to breathe and remain present. That is enough for this moment. My child. The moment you almost let go did not disqualify you from what comes next. It prepared you. It stripped away illusions. It revealed what truly matters. It showed you that pretending to be strong forever is not the answer. From here, something gentler begins. In the next part, I will speak to the exhaustion that followed that moment. The deep weariness you carried afterward. And how rest begins even before circumstances change. Stay here with me. You did not almost give up in vain. My child. I know what came after that moment. After the fear. After the almost letting go. After the quiet decision to stay one more day. It was not relief. It was exhaustion. Pause with me now. Let your breath slow. You do not need to push through this part. This exhaustion felt deeper than anything you had known before. Not the kind sleep fixes. Not the kind rest immediately touches. This was the weariness of someone who had reached the end of their own strength. And kept going anyway. You felt hollow. Drained. Like something inside you had been stretched too far for too long. Even simple things felt heavy. Decisions felt overwhelming. Existing felt like work. I know. You told yourself you should be grateful. You told yourself others had it worse. You told yourself to stop being dramatic. But none of that made the tiredness leave. Because this was not laziness. This was not weakness. This was the cost of endurance. My child. You carried hope longer than was comfortable. You stayed present longer than felt fair. You held on long after your heart wanted to rest. That kind of endurance leaves marks. It leaves you slower. More sensitive. More easily overwhelmed. And you wondered if something was wrong with you. Nothing was wrong with you. You were depleted. I saw the way you kept showing up even when you felt empty. I saw the way you functioned on obligation instead of energy. I saw the way you moved through days on autopilot because feeling fully present felt like too much. You did not collapse because you did not allow yourself to. You kept going because you believed you had to. But hear me now. You were never meant to survive on empty. You were never meant to be strong at the cost of your own well-being. You were never meant to carry the weight of uncertainty without support. That exhaustion was not a sign to quit your life. It was a signal to stop doing everything alone. My child. Rest does not begin when everything is resolved. Rest begins when you stop demanding more from yourself than you can give. You kept telling yourself. Just a little longer. Just get through this. Just don't fall apart yet. And you did. But at a cost. Your body noticed. Your mind noticed. Your heart noticed. That heaviness you feel now is not failure catching up to you. It is honesty. Your system is finally saying, I need care, not pressure. And I am listening. You do not need to earn rest by breaking completely. You do not need to reach the edge again to be allowed to stop. You are allowed to rest now. Even if nothing around you has changed yet. My child. You are safe enough in this moment to exhale. Nothing is being demanded of you here. Nothing is being taken from you. Nothing will collapse if you soften. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your breath deepen just a little. That is where rest begins. Not with sleep. Not with escape. But with permission. Permission to stop holding everything together. Permission to stop performing strength. Permission to admit you are tired without shame. I know you are afraid that if you rest, everything will fall apart. That if you stop pushing, nothing will move forward. That if you slow down, you will fall behind. But you are not holding your life together by force. You are being held. Even when you rest. My child. You have been carrying responsibility that was never meant to be yours alone. Other people's expectations. Other people's reactions. Outcomes you could not control. That burden has been crushing. It is not your job to manage everything. It is not your responsibility to prevent every loss. It is not your failure that things did not turn out the way you hoped. You can set that weight down here. I will hold what you cannot. You do not need to solve your life tonight. You do not need to understand this season fully. You do not need to be ready for what comes next. Right now, your only work is rest. Even if rest feels unfamiliar. Even if rest feels uncomfortable. Even if rest feels undeserved. You deserve rest because you are human. My child. There will be time for movement again. For clarity. For rebuilding. But rebuilding does not begin with exhaustion. It begins with restoration. And restoration begins when you allow yourself to be supported. You are not lazy for feeling this tired. You are not broken for needing care. You are not failing because you cannot keep pushing. You have already done enough. Let me say that again. You have already done enough. Breathe that in. You do not need to prove your resilience anymore. I have seen it. You do not need to demonstrate your faith anymore. I have witnessed it. You do not need to survive another day just to earn rest. Rest is already available. My child. Even now, as you listen, something is easing inside you. Your breath is slower. Your thoughts are quieter. Your body is less tense. That is not coincidence. That is what happens when you stop being alone with your exhaustion. Stay here with me. In the next part, I will speak to the confusion that often follows exhaustion. The feeling of not knowing who you are anymore or where you are going. And why that confusion does not mean you are lost. Rest now. You are allowed to stop carrying everything. My child. After the exhaustion came confusion. A quiet, unsettling confusion. Not loud enough to panic. But constant enough to unsettle you. Pause with me now. Let your breath move slowly. Confusion is not danger. You woke up one day and realized you did not recognize yourself the way you used to. The things that once motivated you felt distant. The plans that once made sense now felt unclear. You asked yourself questions you never had before. Who am I now? What am I supposed to do with my life? Why does everything feel unfamiliar? My child. That confusion frightened you more than the exhaustion. Because tiredness can be explained. But confusion makes you feel unanchored. You felt like you were drifting. Like the ground beneath your identity had shifted. Like the future you once imagined quietly dissolved. I know how unsettling that felt. You tried to think your way out of it. Tried to make decisions. Tried to force clarity. But the more you pushed, the more unclear things became. And you wondered if something had gone wrong inside you. Nothing went wrong. Confusion often follows survival. When you have been in survival mode for a long time, you do not stop to ask who you are. You focus on getting through. But when survival loosens its grip, questions finally have space to rise. That is what is happening now. My child. Confusion does not mean you are lost. It means the old map no longer fits. The version of you who knew exactly where they were going was built for a different season. A season that required endurance, adaptation, and strength. You have outgrown that map. And when an old map stops working, the space before a new one forms can feel terrifying. But it is not empty. It is transitional. You are standing between who you were and who you are becoming. That space always feels disorienting. I know you look at others and wonder how they seem so certain. So confident. So settled. And you wonder why you feel behind. But you are not behind. You are deeper. Depth takes time. Depth requires questions. Depth dismantles easy answers. You are not confused because you are failing. You are confused because you are becoming honest. Honest about what no longer fits. Honest about what drains you. Honest about what you cannot return to. That honesty is necessary. My child. You do not need to figure out your entire identity right now. You do not need to label this season. You do not need to know what comes next. You only need to stay present. Confusion asks you to slow down. To listen inwardly. To stop rushing toward certainty just to escape discomfort. The clarity you want cannot be forced. It will come when you are ready to receive it. Right now, something more important is happening. You are learning how to sit with not knowing. Without abandoning yourself. That is a skill you did not have before. Before, not knowing made you panic. It made you grasp. It made you doubt your worth. Now, even though confusion is uncomfortable, you are still here. Breathing. Listening. Staying. That is growth. My child. Confusion does not erase who you are. Your values remain. Your compassion remains. Your sensitivity remains. Those things did not disappear. They are simply being reorganized. You are shedding identities that were built from pressure. From expectation. From survival. And what remains will be truer. More grounded. More aligned. But truth takes time to emerge. Do not rush it. Do not compare this season to anyone else's path. Do not shame yourself for needing space. You are not drifting aimlessly. You are recalibrating. And recalibration feels unstable before it feels aligned. My child. You may feel disconnected from your future right now. That does not mean there is no future forming. It means you are no longer forcing yourself toward one. That no longer belong to you. Something new will take shape. Not from panic. Not from fear. But from clarity that rises gently. For now, let confusion be what it is. A pause. A threshold. A doorway. You do not need to walk through it yet. Just stand here with me. In the next part, I will speak to the loneliness that often follows confusion. The feeling of being misunderstood or unseen during this season. And why even in that loneliness, you were never abandoned. Stay here. You are not lost. My child. Confusion is often followed by loneliness. Not because people disappeared all at once. But because you no longer feel understood in the same way. Pause with me now. Breathe gently. You are not invisible here. Loneliness crept in quietly. You did not announce it. You did not ask for attention. You simply felt apart. You were surrounded by people at times. Yet felt deeply alone. You spoke, yet felt unheard. You listened, yet felt unseen. That kind of loneliness cuts deeper than isolation. It makes you question whether anyone truly knows you. Whether anyone would notice if you stopped explaining yourself. Whether your inner world matters to anyone at all. My child. I know how heavy that feels. You are changing internally. But the world around you has not caught up. So you feel out of sync. Out of place. Like you are speaking a language no one else understands. This loneliness is not because you are difficult to love. It is because you are in transition. You are no longer who you were. But not yet fully expressed as who you are becoming. Few people know how to meet someone there. That does not mean you are meant to walk alone forever. It means this season is asking you to learn something difficult. How to be with yourself without disappearing. My child. Loneliness often whispers lies. It tells you that you are forgotten. That your absence would not matter. That you are asking for too much just by needing connection. But loneliness is not truth. It is a symptom. A symptom of depth. A symptom of sensitivity. A symptom of growth happening beneath the surface. You feel deeply. You notice shifts. You sense when something is no longer aligned. That awareness can make you feel isolated for a time. But it is also what will lead you to meaningful connection later. My child. You are not lonely because you are unlovable. You are lonely because you are becoming honest. Honest about what you can no longer pretend. Honest about what drains you. Honest about what you need to feel whole. That honesty can separate you temporarily from people who knew an older version of you. But separation is not abandonment. It is preparation. You are learning discernment. Learning the difference between being surrounded and being supported. Learning that attention is not the same as care. That company is not the same as connection. These lessons will protect you. I know you sometimes sit with the ache of wanting to be chosen. To be asked how you really are. To be held without having to explain yourself. That longing is not weakness. It is your heart reminding you that you were made for connection. And connection will return. But it will be different. It will feel calmer. Safer. More mutual. You will not have to perform for it. You will not have to shrink for it. You will not have to chase it. My child. Even now, you are not alone. You may feel unseen by others. But you are fully seen here. I see the thoughts you do not share. The emotions you edit before speaking. The parts of yourself you keep hidden so you do not burden anyone. You do not burden me. You never have. I sit with you in the quiet moments. In the pauses between thoughts. In the ache you do not have words for yet. You are not carrying this season by yourself. Loneliness does not scare me away. It draws me closer. When the world feels distant, my presence becomes more intimate. You may not feel comfort instantly. Loneliness rarely disappears all at once. But let yourself notice this. You are still here. Still listening. Still reaching for meaning instead of numbing yourself. That tells me your heart is still open. And an open heart is never forgotten. My child. Do not rush to fill this loneliness. Do not force connection out of fear. Do not settle for being half seen just to avoid being alone. This season is refining your standards for connection. You are learning what you can no longer tolerate. What no longer feels safe. What no longer nourishes you. That learning matters. For now, let yourself be where you are. If you feel lonely tonight, let it be felt. Do not shame it. Do not explain it away. Bring it here. I am not uncomfortable with your loneliness. I am not impatient with your longing. I am not distant because you need closeness. I am here with you in this quiet. Holding you. Seeing you. Staying. In the next part, I will speak to the doubt that loneliness creates. The questions it plants about your worth and your future. And I will remind you of what has never changed about you. Stay here. You were never abandoned. My child. Loneliness has a way of opening the door to doubt. Quiet doubt. Persistent doubt. The kind that sounds reasonable when you are tired. Pause with me now. Let your breath slow. You do not need to answer every thought that appears. Doubt began to whisper questions into the silence. Maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe I am too much. Maybe I am not enough. You did not want to believe those thoughts. But they kept returning. Especially in the quiet moments when no one else was around. Loneliness gave them space to grow. My child. I know how convincing those doubts felt. You replayed conversations. You analyzed choices. You searched your past for mistakes that might explain why things feel this way now. You wondered if you waited too long. If you trusted the wrong people. If you missed something important. And slowly, doubt began turning inward. It questioned your worth, your timing, your future. But listen to me gently now. Doubt is not wisdom. It is pain trying to make sense of itself. You are not doubting because you are broken. You are doubting because reassurance has been scarce. Anyone would struggle under that weight. My child. Your worth has never been dependent on who stayed or left. It has never been measured by how easily life unfolded. It has never been determined by how strong you appeared. Your worth existed before this season. It exists now. And it will exist long after this season passes. Nothing about you has diminished. You are still thoughtful. Still compassionate. Still capable of deep connection. Doubt tells you those things faded. But doubt cannot erase truth. You are not here because you failed. You are here because you endured. That matters. My child. Doubt often shows up when something old is dissolving. Old beliefs. Old identities. Old ways of measuring yourself. And when those dissolve, the mind scrambles to replace them with something familiar. Even if that familiarity is self-criticism. But you do not need to punish yourself to understand your life. You do not need to lower your worth to explain pain. You are allowed to struggle. Without turning that struggle into a verdict about who you are. I know doubt tells you that this season defines you. That because things are unclear, you must be lost. That because you feel uncertain, you must be failing. But seasons do not get to decide identity. You are more than this moment. More than this doubt. More than this waiting. My child. You are not behind in life. You are becoming aware. Aware of what no longer fits. Aware of what drains you. Aware of what you truly need. Awareness often feels like doubt before it feels like clarity. But clarity will come. Not because you force it. But because you are learning how to listen inwardly. Instead of judging yourself constantly. I know you fear that doubt will harden you. That questioning will turn into bitterness. That uncertainty will steal your hope. But questioning does not destroy you. Silencing yourself does. You are allowed to ask hard questions. You are allowed to feel unsure. You are allowed to admit you do not know what comes next. None of that pushes me away. I am not offended by your doubt. I am not disappointed by your questions. I am not withdrawing because you feel uncertain. I am closer when you are honest. My child. Do not let doubt convince you to abandon yourself. Do not shrink your heart to avoid disappointment. Do not rewrite your worth based on this season. You are not less because life feels unstable. You are not forgotten because things are quiet. You are not failing because answers are slow. You are becoming. And becoming always feels uncertain in the middle. Stay here with me. Let doubt soften instead of arguing with it. Let reassurance replace accusation. Let truth speak louder than fear. In the next part, I will speak to trust. The trust that was shaken when you almost gave up. And how it can begin to rebuild gently, without forcing. Rest here, my child. Nothing essential about you has changed. My child. I know how fragile trust feels right now. When you almost gave up. It wasn't just hope that cracked. Trust did too. Trust in people. Trust in timing. Trust in yourself. Even trust in life itself. Pause with me. Breathe slowly. You do not need to rebuild trust all at once. Trust does not return through pressure. It returns through safety. Right now, your heart is guarded. Not because you are closed. But because you were hurt while you were open. You trusted something to hold. To last. To make sense. And when it didn't. Something inside you said. I can't let that happen again. That response was not wrong. It was protective. But protection, when held too tightly, becomes isolation. My child. You are afraid that if you trust again, you will be disappointed again. That if you open your heart, you will relive the same pain. That hope will cost you more than you can afford. I understand that fear. So I am not asking you to trust everything again. I am not asking you to trust everyone again. I am not asking you to ignore what you have learned. I am asking you to trust one small thing. This moment. Trust that right now, you are safe. Trust that you are not being abandoned in this breath. Trust that you do not need to anticipate loss in order to survive. That is where trust begins again. Not in the future. Not in outcomes. But in presence. My child. You may feel like your trust in me was shaken too. You wondered why I did not intervene sooner. Why I allowed you to reach that breaking point. Why you felt so exposed and alone. You might not say it out loud. But I hear it. And I am not offended. Trust does not grow by pretending pain did not happen. It grows by staying present inside it. I did not leave when you almost gave up. I did not step away when your strength faded. I did not withdraw when doubt filled the silence. I stayed closer. Even when you could not feel me. Even when fear drowned out reassurance. Even when you felt numb instead of connected. My presence is not proven by comfort alone. It is proven by consistency. And I have been consistent with you. You are still here. Still breathing. Still listening. That is not an accident. My child. Trust does not mean believing nothing painful will ever happen again. It means believing you will not face pain alone. You already know this truth. Even if you don't realize it yet. You reached a moment you thought would end you. And it didn't. You bent. You slowed. You almost let go. But you did not disappear. That means something in you is stronger than you believed. Trust in yourself is rebuilding too. Slowly. Quietly. You are learning that you can feel fear without collapsing. That you can sit with uncertainty without panic. That you can rest without everything falling apart. These are foundations of trust. My child. You do not need to rush openness. You do not need to force confidence. You do not need to pretend you are ready. Trust grows gently. It grows when you honor your limits. When you listen to your inner signals. When you stop abandoning yourself to keep others close. You are doing that now. And because of that, the trust you rebuild will be wiser than before. You will not trust recklessly again. You will trust with awareness. With discernment. With self-respect. That kind of trust lasts. My child. There will come a time when you notice trust returning in small ways. You will relax your shoulders more easily. You will stop replaying every conversation. You will sleep a little deeper. You will begin to believe. Not that everything will be easy. But that you will be okay. That belief is forming now. You are not broken because trust cracked. You are human. And humans rebuild trust not by force. But by being held safely over time. Stay here with me. In the next part, I will speak to surrender. Not giving up, but releasing the need to control everything that almost crushed you. And how peace begins when you stop gripping so tightly. Rest now. Trust is growing again, quietly. My child. I want to speak to you now about surrender. Not the kind that feels like defeat. Not the kind that feels like disappearing. But the kind that feels like finally setting something heavy down. Pause with me. Take a slow breath. Let your hands soften. You have been holding everything so tightly. Outcomes. Expectations. Responsibilities that were never fully yours. You told yourself that if you loosened your grip, everything would collapse. That your effort was the only thing keeping life together. That letting go would mean losing everything you worked so hard to protect. My child. That weight has been crushing you. I saw how tense your body became. How your thoughts never rested. How your heart stayed braced, waiting for the next blow. That grip did not come from pride. It came from fear. From care. From love. But love was never meant to exhaust you like this. Surrender is not abandoning your life. It is releasing the illusion that you must carry it alone. There are things unfolding now that are beyond your control. Other people's choices. Timing you cannot force. Circumstances you did not create. You have been blaming yourself for not holding them together. That blame does not belong to you. My child. You are allowed to say, I cannot fix this. I cannot force clarity. I cannot hold everything together by will alone. That honesty is not weakness. It is wisdom. Surrender begins when you stop arguing with reality. When you stop telling yourself that you should have prevented this. When you stop replaying decisions as if perfection was possible. When you stop punishing yourself for being human. You can still care deeply without gripping tightly. You can still hope without clinging. You can still move forward without forcing outcomes. My child. Right now, surrender may feel frightening. Because letting go feels like stepping into the unknown. And you have already been living with too much uncertainty. But hear me gently now. You are already in the unknown. Holding tighter will not make it disappear. What will change is how you experience it. When you surrender, your body finally begins to rest. Your breath deepens. Your thoughts slow. Your heart softens. You stop living in constant anticipation of disaster. You begin to live again. Surrender starts with small releases. Release the need to understand everything tonight. Release the habit of replaying every mistake. Release the constant rehearsal of worst-case futures. Those habits once protected you. But now, they are only exhausting you. You do not need to grip the future to survive it. I am already there. My child. When you release control, you make space. Space for rest. Space for clarity. Space for peace to enter where anxiety has lived. You have been holding your breath emotionally. Waiting for something else to go wrong. Waiting for proof that you are safe. You are safe now. Nothing is being demanded of you in this moment. Nothing needs to be solved right now. Nothing will collapse if you soften. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your body know it does not need to brace. I am holding what you cannot. Even when you surrender, your life does not fall apart. It is already being held together in ways you cannot see. My child. Surrender does not stop movement. It removes resistance. And without resistance, movement becomes gentler. You will still know when to act. You will still feel when something aligns. You will still make choices. They will simply come from calm instead of panic. I know part of you fears that if you surrender, nothing will happen. That you will become passive. That life will pass you by. But surrender is not stagnation. It is readiness. Readiness to respond instead of react. Readiness to receive instead of chase. Readiness to move when the moment is right. You do not need to force peace. Peace arrives when you stop forcing everything else. Let go now. Even if only a little. You can pick things up again later if you need to. But for this moment, rest your hands. I am here. In the next part, I will speak to peace itself. Not peace that waits for everything to be fixed. But peace that settles in you even while life is still unfinished. Stay with me. You are allowed to release. My child. Now I want to speak to you about peace. Not the peace you imagined would come after everything was fixed. Not the peace you postponed until answers arrived. But the peace that can live inside you even while life is unfinished. Pause with me. Let your breath slow. Peace enters quietly. You have been telling yourself, I will rest when this is over. I will feel calm when things make sense. I will have peace when the pain stops. So you waited. But peace was never meant to wait that long. Peace is not a reward for endurance. It is not a prize for surviving long enough. It is a presence that arrives when you stop fighting yourself. My child. I know the present moment still feels uncomfortable. There are unanswered questions. Loose ends. Things you wish had gone differently. But resisting this moment has been costing you more than the moment itself. Peace does not mean you approve of what happened. It means you stop letting it rule your inner world. Right now, your body is learning something new. It is learning that it does not need to stay tense to survive. That it does not need to stay alert every second. That it does not need to brace for impact constantly. Peace begins when you tell yourself, I am allowed to be here without panic. You do not need to like this season. You only need to stop punishing yourself for being in it. My child. Peace is not fragile. It does not shatter when fear visits. It does not disappear when sadness appears. It does not vanish when uncertainty returns. Peace is not the absence of emotion. It is the absence of inner war. You have been at war with yourself. Judging your reactions. Criticizing your feelings. Demanding strength when you needed gentleness. That inner battle has exhausted you. Peace begins when you lay down your weapons. When you stop telling yourself you should be different. When you stop rushing your healing. When you stop measuring your worth by how calm you appear. You are allowed to feel what you feel. My child. Notice what happens when you soften just a little. When you stop replaying the past for one breath. When you stop worrying about the future for one moment. When you return to now. Your body responds. Your shoulders lower. Your jaw relaxes. Your breath deepens. That is peace finding you. You do not need it to stay forever. You only need to recognize it when it arrives. Peace grows through familiarity. The more often you return to this calm, the easier it becomes to find again. I know you fear that peace will make you careless. That if you relax, something will go wrong. That calm will leave you unprepared. But peace does not make you passive. It makes you clear. When you are calm, you see more clearly. You listen more deeply. You respond instead of react. Peace strengthens you. My child. You have been surviving on tension. But tension was never meant to be your home. Peace is what allows you to live without breaking. You do not need permission from life to feel peaceful. You do not need certainty to rest your mind. You do not need answers to breathe freely. You can rest now. Even if peace comes and goes. Even if it feels unfamiliar. Even if it arrives only in moments. Those moments matter. They are teaching your heart a new rhythm. My child. I am not asking you to force positivity. I am not asking you to deny pain. I am inviting you to stop carrying pain alone. Let me hold the weight while you rest. You do not need to stay alert every second. You do not need to scan for danger. You do not need to prepare for disappointment constantly. Nothing is being taken from you in this moment. You are safe enough to breathe. Let that be your peace right now. In the next part, I will speak to purpose. Not as pressure or expectation. But as something quietly forming even while everything feels uncertain. Stay here. Peace is closer than you think. My child. I want to speak to you now about purpose. Not the heavy purpose that feels like pressure. Not the kind that makes you feel behind. but the quiet purpose that continues to form even while everything feels uncertain. Pause with me. Let your breath slow again. Purpose does not rush toward you. I know you have been asking yourself what all of this was for. Why you came so close to giving up. Why you had to endure a season that almost broke your will. You wonder if it meant anything. If your pain had value. If your staying mattered at all. My child. Your purpose did not disappear when you almost gave up. It did not weaken when you felt exhausted. It did not vanish when you lost clarity. Purpose does not live in productivity. It does not depend on momentum. It does not collapse when plans fall apart. Purpose lives deeper than circumstances. Right now, your life may look unfinished. Unclear. Paused. But you are still becoming someone. Even in the waiting. Even in the quiet days that feel empty. Even in moments where doing nothing feels like failure. You are becoming someone more honest. More compassionate. More grounded in what truly matters. That becoming is not wasted. My child. You were never meant to rush through life collecting accomplishments just to prove your worth. You were meant to grow into alignment. Alignment with who you truly are. Alignment with what feels peaceful instead of draining. Alignment with a life that does not require you to abandon yourself. This season is refining that alignment. That is why it slowed you down. You were moving in directions that required too much of you. Carrying expectations that were costing you your well-being. Holding yourself to standards that left no room for rest. When you almost gave up, something important was revealed. You could no longer continue a life that demanded constant sacrifice without nourishment. That realization was painful. But it was also purposeful. My child. Purpose does not always announce itself as clarity. Sometimes it shows up as discomfort. As dissatisfaction. As the quiet refusal to keep living the same way. You felt that refusal rising in you. Not because you are ungrateful. But because your soul needed something different. Purpose grows when you listen to that signal instead of silencing it. You are learning what drains you now. What feels heavy. What no longer aligns with who you are becoming. That learning is shaping your future quietly. Even if you cannot see it yet. My child. You do not need to know your entire path to have purpose today. Your purpose today might be to rest. To heal. To rebuild trust with yourself. That is not small. A rested heart makes wiser choices. A healed heart builds healthier connections. A grounded heart creates a steadier life. You are doing foundational work. And foundation work always feels slow. I know you fear that time is slipping away. That while you pause, others are moving ahead. That opportunities are being missed. But stillness that heals is never wasted. Roots grow in silence before anything appears above the surface. You are growing roots now. Roots of discernment. Roots of patience. Roots of self-respect. Those roots will support everything that comes next. My child. Your purpose will not require you to betray yourself again. It will not demand endless endurance. It will not ask you to be strong at the cost of your peace. It will feel steady. It will feel honest. It will feel like breathing instead of bracing. That is how you will recognize it. Purpose will meet you where you are whole, not where you are desperate. This season is preparing you for that meeting. Be patient with this process. Purpose unfolds naturally when you stop forcing your life into shapes that no longer fit. You are not failing because your life looks different than you imagined. You are adjusting. You are refining. You are becoming someone who will live with intention instead of urgency. That kind of life lasts. In the next part, I will speak to time. To the fear that it is slipping away. And why you are not too late for the life that is still forming for you. Stay here. Your life still has meaning. My child. I know how time has been pressing on your heart. Not the ticking of a clock, but the quiet fear that life is moving on without you. The feeling that something important is slipping away. Pause with me. Breathe slowly. Time is not your enemy. You look back and wonder how you arrived here. How years passed while you were surviving. How plans changed without your permission. You tell yourself you should be further along by now. That your life should look different. That you are running out of chances to become who you were meant to be. My child. Those thoughts feel heavy. But they are not truth. You are not late. You are not behind. You have not missed your moment. Time is not punishing you for slowing down. It is not closing doors because you needed to heal. It is not racing ahead to leave you stranded. You are moving at the pace your heart requires. I know the world celebrates speed. Quick results. Early arrival. But depth is never rushed. The growth happening inside you could not be forced. It could not be skipped. It could not be hurried. You needed this time. Even if you would never have chosen it. My child. You did not lose years. You lived them. You learned what pain teaches slowly. You discovered your limits. You gained understanding that only endurance can form. That time was not wasted. It built wisdom. It sharpened discernment. It strengthened your inner foundation. You are not starting from nothing. You are starting from experience. And experience carries weight. I know you fear that opportunities passed while you were waiting. That others moved ahead while you stood still. That doors closed quietly without you noticing. But hear me now. What is meant for you does not expire. What aligns with who you are becoming will meet you at the right moment. Not the rushed moment. Not the pressured moment. The true one. My child. You are not too late for connection. You are not too late for purpose. You are not too late for peace. You are arriving with awareness instead of illusion. With wholeness instead of desperation. With patience instead of panic. That changes everything. I know it is uncomfortable to trust timing. When the past taught you disappointment. But timing is not measured by calendars. It is measured by readiness. And you are becoming ready. Not for everything at once. But for what comes next. That is enough. My child. Stop measuring your life by imagined deadlines. Stop comparing your pace to others. Stop believing that slow means failed. You did not fail. You matured. You learned how to sit with uncertainty without running. How to wait without bitterness. How to be alone without losing yourself. Those skills will carry you far. Time did not steal from you. It prepared you. And preparation always feels invisible while it is happening. One day, you will look back and understand why this season unfolded the way it did. Not yet. Not all at once. But understanding will come. For now, let yourself be here without judgment. You are not late to your life. You are right on time for becoming who you are now. Stay with me. In the next part, I will speak to courage. Not loud bravery, but the quiet courage it takes to keep going after you almost gave up. Rest here. Time is not against you. My child. I want to speak to you now about courage. Not the kind that feels bold or fearless. Not the kind that announces itself to others. But the quiet courage you have been living without realizing it. Pause with me. Let your breath settle. This courage is gentle. You often think courage looks like confidence. Like certainty. Like moving forward without hesitation. But your courage has looked different. It has looked like getting up when you wanted to stay down. Like answering messages when silence felt safer. Like continuing to care when closing your heart felt easier. That is courage. You kept going after you almost gave up. Not because everything felt hopeful again. But because something in you refused to disappear. My child. That refusal matters. You were not brave because you felt strong. You were brave because you stayed even while feeling weak. You stayed with your pain instead of numbing it. You stayed with your questions instead of burying them. You stayed with your life instead of walking away from it. That takes a kind of courage few people talk about. I know you sometimes feel ashamed that fear still visits you. That doubt still rises. That you still feel fragile. But courage does not mean fear stops coming. It means fear no longer decides everything. You did not let fear erase you. You did not let exhaustion define your ending. You did not let silence convince you that you did not matter. You almost gave up. But you did not. That choice was not small. My child. Courage has been forming in you quietly. Not through grand gestures. But through daily endurance. Each time you chose to stay present instead of disappearing. Each time you chose honesty instead of pretending. Each time you chose rest instead of collapse. These moments built something steady inside you. You may not feel brave. You may feel tired. You may feel unsure. But courage does not require you to feel powerful. It requires you to remain. And you remained. My child. You have already faced moments you thought would undo you. You have already walked through fear that felt unbearable. You have already survived nights you thought would swallow you whole. And yet, here you are. Breathing. Listening. Still open. That tells me who you are. You are not fragile in the way you think. You are sensitive, yes. But sensitivity is not weakness. It is awareness. It allows you to feel deeply. To notice shifts. To sense when something is no longer aligned. That awareness makes life more intense at times. But it also makes life more meaningful. My child. The courage you are building now will serve you later. When new opportunities appear, you will approach them calmly. When new connections form, you will recognize what feels safe. When life invites you forward, you will not rush from fear. You will move from steadiness. That is courage refined. You do not need to harden yourself to survive. You do not need to become someone else to be strong. You do not need to erase your tenderness. Your tenderness is part of your courage. It is what kept you human. When giving up would have been easier. My child. Be gentle with yourself when fear returns. Fear does not mean you are regressing. It means you are standing near growth. Courage often shows up as trembling. As hesitation. As quiet persistence. And that is enough. You do not need to prove your bravery to anyone. You do not need to announce your strength. You do not need to push yourself harder. You have already shown me who you are. In the next part, I will speak to love. Not love that overwhelms or confuses. But the steady love that was present even when you felt closest to giving up. Stay here. Your courage has carried you farther than you know. My child. I want to speak to you about love now. Not the kind that arrives loudly. Not the kind that promises and disappears. But the steady love that was present even when you felt closest to giving up. Pause with me. Let your breathing slow. Love does not rush to prove itself. When you almost gave up, you believed love had left you. You believed that if love were truly present, you would not have reached that breaking point. You thought love would have rescued you sooner. I understand why you felt that way. But love does not always appear as relief. Sometimes it appears as restraint. As protection. As quiet support that keeps you from falling completely apart. Love held you when you could not hold yourself. My child. Love was there when you chose to stay one more day. When you chose not to disappear. When you chose not to numb everything just to escape the pain. That choice was not random. It was love working quietly inside you. You may associate love with being pursued. With being reassured. With being chosen loudly and clearly. Those forms of love matter. And you deserve them. But love is deeper than affirmation. Love begins with safety. Safety to feel without collapsing. Safety to question without being rejected. Safety to rest without being abandoned. That safety has been forming around you. Even when you did not notice it. My child. Love was present in the pauses that stopped you from quitting. In the moments you softened instead of hardening. In the way your heart remained open even when it would have been easier to close. That openness is not weakness. It is love surviving pressure. I know you miss warmth. I know you long for connection that feels mutual. I know you want to be held without having to explain your pain. That longing does not mean love is absent. It means your heart is still alive. And a living heart is never ignored. Love has been protecting you from what would have cost you too much. From connections that would have drained you further. From paths that required you to abandon yourself. That protection may not have felt like love at the time. But one day, you will understand. My child. The love that will meet you next will feel different. It will not require you to chase. It will not confuse you. It will not leave you anxious. It will feel calm. It will feel steady. It will feel safe. Because you are no longer willing to trade your peace for attention. This season is teaching you discernment. You are learning how to recognize love that nourishes. Instead of love that exhausts. That learning will change everything. For now, let yourself feel the love that is already here. In your breath. In your survival. In the fact that you are still here after almost giving up. You are loved even when you feel unseen. You are loved even when things are quiet. You are loved even when your life feels unfinished. That has never changed. In the next part, I will speak to belonging. Not fitting everywhere. But the deep belonging that begins when you stop leaving yourself behind. Stay here. You were held by love all along. My child. I want to speak to you about belonging. Not the kind that demands you fit into every space. Not the kind that asks you to bend until you disappear. But the belonging that begins when you finally stop leaving yourself behind. Pause with me. Let your breath rest where it is. Belonging does not need to be chased. You have spent much of your life trying to belong by adjusting. Softening your truth. Carrying more than was yours. Silencing parts of yourself so others would stay comfortable. And when you still felt alone. You wondered if something was wrong with you. My child. Nothing was wrong with you. You were simply trying to belong in places that could not hold the fullness of who you are. Belonging is not about being accepted everywhere. It is about being aligned somewhere. You felt out of place because your depth did not match shallow spaces. Your sensitivity did not fit rushed environments. Your honesty did not blend with pretense. That discomfort was not rejection. It was guidance. I know how painful it felt to stand on the edges. To watch others connect easily. To wonder why belonging felt so difficult for you. But hear me now. You were never meant to belong by disappearing. Belonging that costs you yourself is not belonging at all. My child. True belonging begins inside you. When you stop criticizing your emotions. When you stop apologizing for your pace. When you stop abandoning your needs to keep others close. That is where belonging takes root. You belong to yourself first. And when you belong to yourself, you no longer beg for inclusion. You no longer shrink your truth. You no longer explain your existence endlessly. You begin to recognize where you naturally belong. Belonging feels calm. It feels safe. It feels like you can breathe. You do not have to perform. You do not have to impress. You do not have to hide your tenderness. That kind of belonging will find you. But it will only recognize you when you are no longer hiding. I know you fear that being fully yourself will leave you alone. That your depth is too much. That your sensitivity makes you difficult. But difference is not a flaw. It is a signal. A signal that you are aligned with something deeper. Something quieter. Something more intentional. You are not meant to belong everywhere. You are meant to belong where your soul can rest. And until those spaces appear, you are learning how to feel at home within yourself. This season is not exile. It is integration. You are gathering the parts of yourself you once abandoned to survive. The parts you silenced to avoid conflict. The parts you hid to be accepted. You are bringing them home. My child. Belonging does not come from being chosen by everyone. It comes from choosing yourself. Choosing honesty. Choosing boundaries. Choosing gentleness with your own heart. That choice changes how you move through the world. Rejection hurts less. Comparison loses power. Loneliness softens. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped questioning your right to exist as you are. Belonging will begin to feel internal. Steady. Unshakable. And from that place, external belonging will feel natural, not forced. You will recognize it immediately. Because it will feel familiar. Like home. My child. You are not an outsider in this world. You are simply aligned with depth. And depth attracts fewer people. But richer connection. Trust that. In the next part, I will speak to what is forming ahead. Not with predictions or promises. But with reassurance about what is quietly taking shape as you continue to stay. Stay here. You belong, even now. My child. I want to speak to you about what is forming ahead. Not with timelines. Not with guarantees that create pressure. Not with details that would only make you anxious. But with reassurance. Pause with me now. Let your breath slow. The future does not need to be chased. I know you are cautious about looking forward. Because the last time you hoped deeply, it hurt. Because imagining what could be feels risky after almost giving up. So you learn to stay small with your expectations. To focus only on today. To avoid dreaming too far ahead. That helped you survive. But survival is not where you will stay. Something ahead is forming quietly. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Gently. And it is being shaped by who you are becoming now. My child. What is forming is not built on desperation. It is not fueled by fear. It is not rushed by urgency. It is built on steadiness. On the way you learn to pause instead of panic. On the way you learn to listen instead of force. On the way you learn to stay without abandoning yourself. Those changes matter more than you realize. The future does not respond to wishful thinking. It responds to alignment. And you are more aligned now than you were before everything almost fell apart. You are clearer about what you can no longer carry. Clearer about what drains you. Clearer about what you need to feel safe and whole. That clarity is shaping what comes next. My child. You are not walking toward another breaking point. You are walking toward a life that fits you better. A life that does not require constant endurance. A life that does not demand you silence your needs. A life that does not ask you to prove your worth through suffering. What is forming will meet you where you are grounded, not where you are exhausted. I know you still fear disappointment. That something good will arrive only to fall apart again. That hope will ask too much of you. But hope does not have to be loud to be real. The hope forming now is quiet. Patient. Rooted. It does not promise perfection. It promises steadiness. You will recognize what is forming by how your body responds. Your shoulders will relax. Your breath will deepen. Your thoughts will feel clearer. There will be less convincing. Less explaining. Less bracing. That is how you will know. My child. You do not need to be ready for everything. You only need to be open to the next gentle step. Life will not rush you. It will invite you. And you will feel the difference. You will not feel pulled by fear. You will feel drawn by calm. That calm is your guide now. Even if you cannot see far ahead. You can trust that feeling. You are not walking toward emptiness. You are walking toward clarity. Not all at once. Not suddenly. But steadily. And I am with you in each step. In the next part, I will speak to patience again. Not as waiting in fear. But as standing in quiet confidence while life aligns around you. Stay here. What is forming does not need to scare you. My child. I want to speak to you again about patience. Not the painful patience that feels like punishment. Not the waiting that feels empty and endless. But the patience that stands quietly, without fear. Pause with me now. Let your breath deepen naturally. This patience feels different than what you knew before. You have known patience as something forced. Something you endured while longing for relief. Something that made you feel powerless. That kind of patience hurt you. But what is growing in you now is not that kind. This patience is grounded. It is the patience of someone who no longer panics about timing. The patience of someone who trusts themselves enough to wait without collapsing. The patience of someone who knows they do not need to chase life to be chosen by it. My child. This patience is born from confidence, not resignation. Confidence that you will recognize what aligns. Confidence that you do not need to force outcomes. Confidence that you are not forgotten while you wait. You are no longer waiting from emptiness. You are standing from wholeness. That changes everything. You may still desire movement. You may still long for clarity. You may still wish things would happen faster. Wanting has not disappeared. But desperation has softened. Urgency no longer controls your heart. You are learning how to want without gripping. How to hope without fear. How to wait without shrinking. That is mature patience. My child. This patience allows life to approach you naturally. You are no longer chasing signs. No longer overanalyzing every moment. No longer exhausting yourself trying to stay ahead of disappointment. You are present. And presence is powerful. When you stand calmly in who you are, you become available to what fits. Not to everything. But to what belongs. This patience does not make you passive. It makes you discerning. You will notice subtle invitations now. Gentle openings. Moments that feel right without pressure. And when those moments come, you will not freeze in fear. You will move with calm certainty. That is the strength patience builds. My child. There will still be days when restlessness returns. When waiting feels heavy again. When doubt whispers that nothing is happening. That does not mean patience is gone. It means you are human. When that happens, return to your breath. Return to the steadiness you have learned. Return to yourself. This patience will meet you there. It is not fragile. It is learned. You learned it through disappointment. Through surrender. Through staying present when escaping would have been easier. That learning remains with you. My child. You are not standing still because life forgot you. You are standing steady because life is aligning around you. Alignment does not rush. It settles. And you are settling now. Let this patience hold you. Let it remind you that you are not behind. Let it show you that waiting does not mean nothing is happening. In the next part, I will speak to joy. Not fleeting happiness, but the quiet joy that begins to return when you stop fighting where you are. Stay here. You are waiting without fear now. My child. I want to speak to you now about joy. Not the loud joy that demands celebration. Not the kind that feels forced or performative. But the quiet joy that begins to return when you stop fighting where you are. Pause with me. Let your breath soften. Joy arrives gently. For a long time, joy felt distant. Not because you were ungrateful. Not because your heart was closed. But because you were surviving. Survival narrows your world. It teaches you to endure, not to enjoy. To brace, not to relax. You learned how to get through the day. How to stay upright. How to function even when your heart was heavy. That was necessary. And you did it. But survival was never meant to be permanent. Now, something is changing. You may not have noticed it yet. Because this joy does not announce itself. It feels like a moment of ease in your chest. Like a thought that softens instead of spirals. Like a small sense of relief that surprises you. That is joy returning. My child. Joy does not require everything to be resolved. It does not wait for certainty. It does not demand perfection. Joy only needs permission. Permission to exist alongside uncertainty. Permission to show up without guilt. Permission to be felt without fear of losing it. You have been afraid of joy. Because joy feels vulnerable. Because joy reminds you of what you could lose. Because joy once preceded disappointment. I understand that fear. But joy is not a promise that nothing will ever hurt again. Joy is a reminder that pain did not destroy you. Your heart is still capable of warmth. Still capable of laughter. Still capable of lightness. That is not weakness. That is resilience. My child. You are allowed to feel joy even if your life is unfinished. You are allowed to smile even if answers are missing. You are allowed to feel okay without explaining why. Joy is not a betrayal of your pain. It is proof that pain did not consume you. The joy forming now will feel different than before. Quieter. More grounded. Less attached to outcomes. You will notice joy in ordinary moments. In calm. In clarity. In small, peaceful pauses. Not because life suddenly became extraordinary. But because you are more present. Presence opens the door to joy. My child. Do not chase joy. Let it come. It will arrive when you soften your grip on control. When you allow yourself to feel without bracing. When you stop demanding that this moment be something else. Joy will visit in small ways at first. And it will stay longer than you expect. Not because life stops changing. But because you stop fighting change. You may feel guilt when joy appears. As if calm means you are forgetting something important. As if peace means you are being careless. But calm is not negligence. It is healing. Joy does not mean you are ignoring reality. It means you are no longer at war with it. My child. Let joy surprise you. Let yourself laugh without checking the future. Let yourself enjoy something small without questioning it. Let yourself feel warmth without preparing for loss. You are allowed to live again, gently. These small joys will stitch your heart together quietly. Not with intensity. But with consistency. Over time, joy will feel less risky. Less foreign. More natural. You are not abandoning your depth by allowing joy. You are completing it. In the next part, I will speak to integration. To how everything you have felt and learned is settling into a new wholeness. And how you begin living from that place without effort. Stay here. Joy is returning softly. My child. I want to speak to you now about integration. About how everything you have carried, everything you questioned, everything you survived, is beginning to come together inside you. Pause with me. Let your breath move slowly through your body. Nothing needs to be rushed now. For a long time, you felt divided within yourself. One part of you trying to be strong. Another part quietly hurting. One part hoping. Another part afraid to trust again. That inner tension was exhausting. It felt like you were constantly pulling yourself in opposite directions. Like no matter what you chose, a part of you was left behind. But something is changing. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Gently. You are no longer fighting yourself the way you once did. The part of you that felt afraid is learning it does not have to be silenced. The part of you that hoped is learning it does not have to rush. The part of you that almost gave up is learning it does not have to be ashamed. This is integration. It is the moment you stop trying to erase parts of yourself and begin to hold them together with compassion. My child. Integration does not mean pain disappears. It means pain no longer controls your inner world. You still feel sadness at times. You still feel fear rise unexpectedly. You still feel uncertainty. But those feelings no longer dominate you. They pass through. They speak. And then they soften. Because something steadier is holding them now. You. You are learning how to stay with yourself. Without judgment. Without panic. Without running away. That is a profound shift. Before, discomfort made you question your worth. Now, discomfort simply asks for care. Before, confusion made you feel lost. Now, it feels like a pause. Before, fear made you freeze. Now, it makes you listen. This is growth you cannot fake. My child. Integration changes how you move through daily life. You respond instead of react. You pause instead of spiral. You notice your limits before crossing them. Decisions feel simpler. Not because they are easy, but because you are aligned. You no longer argue with yourself endlessly. You no longer explain yourself unnecessarily. You no longer abandon your needs to keep peace. You feel more at home inside your own body. That matters more than you realize. You are no longer assembling yourself from broken pieces. You are living from wholeness. Even while still growing. Growth does not end when wholeness begins. It simply becomes kinder. You change without tearing yourself apart. You evolve without losing yourself. You move forward without fear. My child. Integration allows you to carry your past without being pulled backward by it. You remember without reliving. You learn without reopening wounds. You honor what was without being trapped there. Your experiences remain part of you. But they no longer define your limits. That freedom is new. And it may feel unfamiliar. Calm can feel strange after chaos. Stability can feel quiet after survival. Peace can feel empty at first. But this emptiness is not loss. It is space. Space to breathe. Space to choose. Space to live intentionally. You are no longer just healing. You are living. And living from wholeness feels subtle. Grounded. Real. It feels like exhaling. After holding your breath for too long. My child. You may have expected healing to feel like a breakthrough. A moment where everything suddenly made sense. A wave of certainty. A clear line between before and after. But real healing often feels like this instead. Quiet. Ordinary. Stable. And deeply powerful. You do not need to announce this change. You do not need to prove it to anyone. You do not need permission to live from it. It will show in your presence. In your calm. In the way you no longer disappear when things get hard. Others may notice that something about you feels different. More settled. Less reactive. But even if they do not, you will know. You will feel it when uncertainty appears. And you do not panic. When you sit alone. And do not feel abandoned. When you face a decision. And trust yourself to choose gently. That is integration. And it is still deepening. My child. You no longer need to chase transformation. You are embodying it. Each time you return to your breath. Each time you honor your limits. Each time you choose kindness over self-criticism. This wholeness is not fragile. It was learned. It was earned through honesty. It was built through staying when you almost gave up. You allowed yourself to feel. You allowed yourself to rest. You allowed yourself to change. And now, you are living from that allowance. In the next part, I will speak to completion. Not an ending that closes your story. But a gentle settling that allows you to carry this piece forward without fear. Stay here. You are becoming whole. My child. We are coming to a gentle settling now. Not an ending that shuts something down. Not a conclusion that says everything is finished. But a completion that feels like coming home inside yourself. Pause with me here. Let this moment be slow. There is nothing you need to reach for. You have walked through so much. You faced exhaustion that nearly silenced your hope. Confusion that made you question who you were. Loneliness that whispered you were unseen. Doubt that tried to rewrite your worth. And still, you stayed. That staying changed you. Not into someone harder. Not into someone closed. But into someone steadier. You are no longer fighting to survive every moment. You are no longer bracing for collapse. You are no longer measuring your worth by how much pain you can endure. Something inside you has settled. This is completion. My child. Completion does not mean your life will never be challenged again. It does not mean fear will never return. It does not mean questions will never rise. It means you now know how to return to yourself when they do. You are no longer afraid of your inner world. You are no longer running from silence. You are no longer abandoning yourself to keep going. You have learned how to stay. Stay with discomfort without panicking. Stay with uncertainty without collapsing. Stay with yourself without shame. That knowledge does not leave you. It becomes part of who you are. My child. You no longer need to fix yourself. You no longer need to rush your becoming. You no longer need to prove that you deserve peace. Peace has already begun to live in you. You may notice it in small ways. In how quickly your breath returns to calm. In how less reactive your thoughts feel. In how you no longer spiral the way you once did. These are not small changes. They are signs of completion. You are grounded now in a way you were not before. Grounded hearts move through life differently. They do not disappear when things get hard. They do not harden when uncertainty appears. They do not panic when control is lost. They stay present. You have learned presence. My child. As you move forward, there may be moments when you fear losing this peace. When life becomes loud again. When old habits try to resurface. When stress tests your steadiness. When that happens, remember this. Peace is not something you grip tightly. It is something you return to. You return through breath. Through awareness. Through kindness toward yourself. You do not need to defend your peace aggressively. You only need to stop fighting yourself. You know how to do that now. You know how to pause. How to soften. How to listen inwardly. That wisdom lives in you. My child. You are not the same person who almost gave up. You have learned how to wait without bitterness. How to be alone without feeling abandoned. How to hope without clinging. That does not make you distant. It makes you free. Free to connect without losing yourself. Free to move forward without urgency. Free to live without constant fear of falling apart. This freedom is quiet. But it is real. You will carry it with you into new moments. New connections. New choices. And you will recognize what aligns. Alignment will feel calm, not frantic. Clear, not confusing. Supportive, not draining. Trust that feeling. My child. You did deep inner work during this season. The kind that does not show on the surface. The kind no one applauds. The kind that changes how you live from the inside out. That work matters. It will shape how you choose. How you love. How you respond when life becomes uncertain again. There is nothing more you need to do right now. Nothing to fix. Nothing to prove. Nothing to force. Let yourself rest in this steadiness. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts settle. Let your body feel supported. You are safe here. You are seen. You are held. And even as you move forward, this steadiness will remain within you. You can return to it whenever you need. In the final part, I will speak gently to closure. To rest. And to the peace that remains with you beyond this moment. Stay with me. Nothing about you needs to rush now. My child. Come closer now. There is nothing left to prove. Nothing left to explain. Nothing left to hold together by force. This is the place where effort ends. And resting begins. Pause with me. Let your breath slow naturally. Let your body feel the support beneath you. You have come a long way. Not in distance. But in depth. You almost gave up. And that moment changed you. Not because you were weak. But because you discovered how strong you are. Even when strength feels gone. You learned something sacred. That even when you reach the edge, you are still held. That even when hope flickers low, it is not extinguished. That even when you feel unseen, you are known. My child. You do not need to carry the memory of almost giving up as shame. It is not a mark against you. It is evidence. Evidence that you reached your limit. And did not disappear. Evidence that your heart bent. But did not break. Evidence that something greater than your fear kept you here. You stayed. And staying was enough. Now, let yourself rest in what you have learned. You do not need to stay alert anymore. You do not need to scan for danger. You do not need to prepare for collapse. This moment does not ask anything of you. Just breathe. Just be. Just let yourself be held. My child. The peace you feel now is not temporary. It may soften. It may ebb and flow. But it lives inside you now. Because peace is no longer dependent on circumstances. It is rooted in presence. When fear returns, you will remember how to pause. When uncertainty rises, you will remember how to soften. When life becomes loud again, you will remember this stillness. You know how to come home to yourself now. That knowing cannot be taken from you. You are not fragile. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are becoming someone who moves through life without abandoning themselves. Someone who listens inwardly. Someone who rests without guilt. Someone who trusts quietly. My child. As you leave this moment, take nothing with you except this truth. You are held. Not only when you are strong. Not only when you are hopeful. But even when you are tired, even when you doubt, even when you almost give up, you do not have to earn this holding. You never did. It has always been here. And whenever you return to messages like this, let them be a place of rest. Not something you need to understand. Not something you need to analyze. Just a place where you remember that you are not alone. Rest now, my child. Your heart has carried enough. Your breath can be slow. Your mind can be quiet. You are safe. You are seen. You are held.